How's it going, you all?
And welcome back to Bros.
The first two episodes of The Bad Batch premiered last week, and there were tons of references to Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Rebels, and all the movies.
We did our best to identify every single one.
Now, without further ado, let's get into the video.
The first episode of The Bad Batch was a continuation of The Clone Wars, as we can understand from the intro. The narration is special to The Clone Wars, and as we saw it in the second episode, Cut and Run, it will not continue throughout the series.
Also, in the intro, we get to see Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting Grievous and saving the Chancellor. Those scenes are exactly the same as the ones in The Revenge of the Sith, just in animation.
Beginning of the episode takes us to a new planet, Calor. We get to meet Depa Billaba and her Padawan Caleb Doom for the first time chronologically. Of course, Caleb Doom is Kanan Jarrus from Star Wars Rebels. He tells the story of his version of Order 66 in Rebels Season 2 after meeting Rex. He mentions how his master's last words were wrong. We get to confirm that in this episode.
I watched them kill my master. She fought beside them for years and they gunned her down in a second.
The clone captain in the episode recognizes the Clone Force 99, aka the Bad Batch. The name Clone Force comes from another defected clone, 99. His mutation was not a desired one like the Bad Batch and was used as a janitor on Kamino. We met him in the first episode of Season 3, Clone Cadets in the Clone Wars. He influences the Domino Squad, which includes very important members like Heavy, Echo, Fives, Cut Up, and Droid Bait.
Unfortunately, 99 dies in the hands of Echo in the second episode of the season, Arc Trooper. He sacrifices himself in an attempt to save Kamino and all the clones.
We get to hear Crosshair saying, "Sir, yes, sir," what the normal clones reply to an order from a superior. Also, the clones continue to call the droids clankers, which we can remember from the Clone Wars.
The Bad Batch often uses their knives in combat. Those are special knives called vibro knives. We get to see them in action for the first time in the Clone Wars episode The Bad Batch, Season 7, Episode 1. The Mandalorian Din Djarin's knife is also a vibro knife.
The Bad Batch doesn't spend too much time with regular clones, and we can see that they have a bad relationship due to their differences. Therefore, they call the regular clones regs.
Not bad for a reg.
We learn from the intel of the tech that the Clone Wars is coming to an end as Obi-Wan Kenobi engages Grievous on Utapau. The reinforcements are rerouted to the capital. Of course, we see that on Season 7 Episode 9, Old Friends Not Forgotten, when Anakin and Obi-Wan are called to return to Coruscant to save the Chancellor.
Calling the clones back to the capital comes in very handy when invading the Jedi Temple. What a coincidence.
Order 66 happens right after this conversation, the order to kill all the Jedi due to the treason against the Republic. We get to see how Kanan survives, thanks to the lack of effect of the inhibitor chips on the Bad Batch.
Only Crosshair's chips work slightly. He used the phrase, "Good soldiers follow orders." This is the phrase that forces the clones to act upon Order 66. We hear it first in the first episode of Season 6, The Unknown, when a clone trooper Top's inhibitor chip malfunctions and Order 66 way before it should. Top repeats the phrase, "Good soldiers follow orders," and kills Jedi General Tiplar. Top is sent back to Kamino for inspection, and Sidious covers the tracks of this incident to remain unknown. Only one clone called Fives figures out the inhibitor chip and removes it. Before getting to reveal it to the remaining clones and the Jedi, he is killed by the Coruscant guards, just as Palpatine would have wanted.
Fives could have prevented the Order 66 and the fall of the Republic all by himself. The events that we explained took place in the first 4 episodes of Season 6 of the Clone Wars.
We also see that without the chip, Order 66 is not even an order clones recognize.
Also, we should mention how Kanan decides to jump off the cliff instead of taking Hunter's hand.
Similar to what movie is it? The Bad Batch is called back to Kamino after Order 66. They get to see that the clones aren't working properly with the activation of the inhibitor chips. Their tendency to follow orders without question is intensified, but they lost their free will and creativity. They are much more like stormtroopers now, which could easily be the reason to replace them for cheaper recruited bodies.
As we know, the Empire is building the Death Star at this point and they need the extra funds.
Coruscant Guard shock troopers are in Camino. They are the closest things to a guard for the Chancellor. We're not sure about this, but they seem to act under the influence of the inhibitor chips from the beginning. They killed Fives in cold blood, they have been more aggressive than the other clone troopers, and they attempted to kill Ahsoka as well.
We see a dead Jedi in the episode and a lot of people believe it is Shakti, although she is supposed to be in Coruscant at this point. Potentially, the guards took her back to Camino after her death, which makes no sense.
After seeing Tarkin, Echo talks about his experience in the Citadel. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and the 501st travel to Citadel to save the Jedi Master Even Piel and Tarkin in Season 3, Episode 18 of the Clone Wars.
Echo tragically blows up in the episode and then taken by the Separatists to be turned into a computer that creates an algorithm to recognize the clone army's tactics. He was found on Skako Minor in Season 7, Episode 1 of the Clone Wars by Captain Rex and the Bad Batch.
Palpatine's speech on the Revenge of the Sith is aired live on Camino.
Galactic Empire for a safe and secure society.
Crosshair asked the difference between the Republic and the Empire, just like Mayfeld from The Mandalorian.
Tarkin and the Prime Minister of Camino, Lama Su, have a meeting in the same room Obi-Wan has his meeting in the Attack of the Clones.
The droid companion next to Omega is the same droid as the one who helped Fives when he removed his inhibitor chip in the first arc of the Season 6 of the Clone Wars. EZ was extremely important when removing Fives' chip and helped him rescue Camino. Its mind is probably wiped after that experience.
The Bad Batch go to the training facilities to be tested. The same training facility we see in the episode Clone Cadets. The droid they fought looks like an older model of the ones that Thrawn fights in Rebels and the Dark Troopers in The Mandalorian.
When Wrecker has hard time understanding the hand signals, Tech says what we did on Felucia. Felucia is a planet often traveled in the Clone Wars and the death place of the Jedi Master Aayla Secura.
After the test, Bad Batch is sent to an assignment to eliminate insurgents on Onderon. In the Clone Wars Onderon arc Season 5 Episode 2-4, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka and the clones helped Stilla and Saw Gerrera rescue Onderon from a tyrant. Stilla dies in the efforts of freeing the planet, and that is who Saw refers to in the episode when he says, "Everyone we lost." Saw Gerrera appears in Star Wars Rebels and Rogue One, and he is one of the first rebel cells. They are going to a rendezvous in this episode, probably to meet with other rebels, potentially Bail Organa.
Saw mentions the start of the Galactic Civil War between the Empire and the future rebels, which is obviously a reference to the original trilogy. Saw was never really a part of the Rebel Alliance, as he was too extreme, but he was one of the greatest threats to the Empire.
Probe droids are sent to spy on the Bad Batch, which is a tactic the Empire loves to use. The best use of it comes in The Empire Strikes Back, when the Empire sent them to find the system rebels hid in.
Omega visits the Bad Batch's quarters and AZ finds the droid head. Wrecker mentions in the Clone Wars how he collects the droid heads. Also, the toy Wrecker has is very similar to the toy that Numa has. We meet Numa in the episode Landing off Point Rain, Season 2, Episode 5, The Clone Wars.
We see the Imperial logo in various locations in the first two episodes, including on the prison uniforms of the Bad Batch.
Crosshair is taken by the Empire to be used as an asset as the intensity of the chip can be increased. This is done on the same machine Five's chip was removed.
Crosshair's new suit is an Imperial type design.
The second episode, Cut and Run, is a reference to the Deserter clone we meet, Cut. The Deserter is a reference to the Clone Wars episode, The Deserter, Season 2, Episode 10, where we meet Cut. Rex meets Cut in that episode, and apparently he also comes to the refuge after surviving Order 66 with Ahsoka.
After landing on Saleucami, the field the Bad Batch passes is very similar to Thanos' farm. Not a Star Wars reference or even any reference, just a similarity.
We get to also see the animal that Padme fought in the Geonosis arena in the Attack of the Clones, which is called Nexus.
Echo is surprised when Hunter tells that he trusts a deserter. Rex gave the same reaction when he learned Cut was running away from the war.
The droid surrounds the Bad Batch after Wrecker activates them. They are used as a defense mechanism reprogrammed by Cut. We see those same droids attacking Cut and Rex during the Clone Wars.
Empire's control is increasing throughout every system. Chain codes, which we can see a lot in Rebels in the original trilogy, has just started as the new galactic policy.
The town looks similar to Lothal in Rebels.
Talking about Rebels, when Omega sits in the ship, it looks very similar to where Ezra sits on the Ghost.
Hunter wants to give Omega to Cut and Sue for a life that she deserves, just like Mando wanted to do with Grogu in the 4th episode of The Mandalorian. Hunter and Omega's relationship resembles Din and Grogu's. We have not yet decided if this is a positive or a negative.
The Lux we see that holds the Bad Batch's ship is the same as the one holding Leia's ship in Star Wars Rebels.
We learned that the ship is called an Omicron class attack shuttle.
The gates that Cut and his family wants to pass remind us of the gates in Solo.
Why, have you got somewhere to be?
Yeah, back here, as soon as I can.
Don't hear that much.
We normally do not talk about the creatures we see in the Star Wars galaxy as they are spread all around, but a member of the Cantina band or the same species is a bit more rare.
The shuttle that Cut and his family lives in is used as an Imperial transport commonly in Star Wars Rebels. There are a bunch of Star Wars references in the first 2 episodes of The Bad Batch.
We expect to see a bunch more in the future.
There are 14 more episodes to go, and we are looking forward to all of them.
We will be back with more Star Wars content in the upcoming weeks.
For now,
Beavers out.